We're already full screen. Crazy old man.
Welcome back, everyone. We are still preparing a few things behind the scenes for our Q&A, but I have now Viljar and Leo back to answer your questions. Before we do that, again, for those of you who have joined us a bit later, you might have heard about the fact that we have been moving the release date of Dune Awakening 3 weeks back to the 10th of June with a head start starting on the 5th of June, which is not cause for any concern. It's really just because we want to add some more polish to some of the things in the game, and it gives that opportunity. Additionally, we also will have the opportunity
to watch more worms.
Large-scale beta. So many of you will have the chance to actually try out the game for themselves. That won't be under an NDA, so we will be able to show, you'll be able to stream, you'll be able to do videos and all that good stuff. But
I wish I had at least recorded my gameplay during the beta weekend.
In the game to do when you actually play, when you look at it as a player, like turn off your developer brain. Is that working? Does that actually work? Can you
private server is an option down the road. I know it's something that some of the IMI folks have talked about, but we're going to play on a public server to start with. I don't know when we're going to get the private ones, because I think that's still a post-launch goal.
Like we have all these different elements. You have the way that we harvest both.
They're still trying to figure it out, as far as I know, how they want to do it.
Resources, things like that. Then you can mix it up and go do an ecolab like we just saw. And then I really like how things come together. You might be driving away from a sandworm, and then suddenly there's a sandstorm on the way. You drive past an enemy camp and they start shooting at you. Suddenly you run out and you try to take care of them. You get hit by heat stroke, and then it's like, okay, the sandstorm was upon me. I have to find shelter, but I also have to take out these enemies. Like, I like fast games where you have a lot of second-to-second decisions to make, and I think
all of that's definitely a thing.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Leo?
Yeah, so I actually started a new playthrough last week, playing quite a bit, and what I'm really enjoying now is setting up my base production facilities and the related mining activities that come from that.
I've heard other people make the comparison. I've not actually played Rust.
With that, going around in my buggy, going up in the turret, finding mining nodes to get my resources from, and
it can be very relaxing too. Like that's one of the things that you mentioned that to me earlier, actually, when we talked a little bit as well, and I totally agree with that. That we have both the combat aspect that is very nerve wracking, can be like get your pulse up, and then we have the mining who can be actually very zen with like following those lines and things, and I really like that kind of juxtaposition.
I love that kind of gameplay, just playing around in the open world, gathering resources, dealing with the little PvE stuff as it pops up.
Make it work.
I enjoy that.
Like sand-like and everything like that. And although there is some progression on the patterns that you harvest from, but it still needs to be sand-like, because the thing is, hopefully you'll be playing this game for thousands of hours, and having something that is that intense all the time, I just didn't think that would be right for the game.
No, it's exhausting,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So you have combat if you want that experience, but then if you want to relax a little bit and just chill, you can, as you say, go with your buggy and harvest.
Yeah, so what's going on right now is that I'm looking, okay, what's the next tech that I want to get to, right? Okay, what do I need for that? I need this thing, this thing, this thing. I have these already, right? I went out to some expeditions earlier, but these two things are new. I wonder where I'm going to get those. Okay, so I hop in my buggy and I drive out and I hunt for resources.
Yeah.
And it turns into an adventure. Yeah. Sometimes a bit too adventurous.
Exploration.
I lost my bike yesterday, but
oh yeah, I know that feeling. I think everyone goes through that at least once. So like it's just kind of part of the experience, the Dune Awakening experience.
I got my lesson.
But,
I've seen one human mentioned. I don't know a lot about it.
Another thing I just wanted to mention before we go into questions is like what I really love is the weird things that can happen. Like
I keep hearing people talk about light no fire as well.
That, I think, where you were driving through the desert, you were looking for the worm, and there was like a crash, like one of the dynamic ships that can crash and like crash down onto the surface, crashed like literally like 2 meters next to you, and you had no idea that was coming down. That was just like it's moments like this that I find incredibly engaging and fun, like these type of things that can happen. Anyway, so we are ready for some questions. We have the first question from Orange Shire. Can the player select which siege they got to connect to? as their home.
Yeah, it would be
dimension,
nice
or
if they
it's
had it ready to go
randomized.
before the 10th. I agree.
Yeah, so you get to choose your
Said I know that
worlds,
is
and in
something that
world,
the
there are
IMI
many
people were
servers
talking
which are
about,
sieges, and you can
having
pick the siege
private
that
server
you want
available
on it.
down the
So you
road,
don't have to do it in any order, and you don't, and it's not randomly assigned.
Right, and you can talk to your friends again, like to make sure they're on the same siege
Yeah.
for that,
Yeah,
or
it's a good
at least
idea.
in the same world as well, because then
Yeah.
you can still visit and all that.
Yeah, you want to align on that before you start, so you pick the
For
right
sure.
one.
Yes, for sure, absolutely. I'm gonna butcher these.
That sounds
usernames
cool.
again.
I think that's
Apologize
important that
beforehand
the
if I
seasonal
do.
rewards for that kind of seasonal server game does offer you rewards in your main or whatever on your account somehow.
The guild is. So basically, if you can change, right? If your guild is another alignment.
Yeah, you can. You can betray.
You can betray each house once.
They won't take that lightly, so you better think about this really carefully. Like, what align you first, and
Yeah,
if
it's
you
frowned
betray.
upon.
Yep, they don't like that very much. P-Dragon76 asks, can you progress far without PvP, or is this game mainly going to be around PvP?
So you can play in the survival area, the survival game map that we have, which is 8 by 8 kilometers, and you don't have to PvP at all in that. Now going to the deep desert, you don't have to PvP. It's just that you run the risk of PvP. And as what I talked about earlier is that we have all these tools where you can quickly get away. So the goal was that people who don't want to PvP may still go there for the loot, but be on the lookout for enemies coming, and then just drive away really fast, or you using your ornithopter as you would to get away, or if you get jumped, use your abilities to get away. So we didn't want to have people be ganked very early on, and we thought that, well, at this point you played the game for 100 hours, so you probably know your way around the disruptor, right? So when you get there, people who will PvP you, but they will actually meet people who know how to play the game. So that was the goal. Now, not everyone is going to love that, but like PvP, but you can then run away. As I said, you don't have to engage with them to get the things.
It's almost as if you decide to opt into PvP, you actually put yourself under higher risk than someone that says, I'm only going to play PvE in the game. And also, we haven't actually talked about the end game and the launch route system, which does have PvP, but
which we did actually see in the live stream number 4, which actually I'm really interested in.
It's not all PvP.
And I didn't expect to be.
Options for PvE players as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can play the game for hundreds, thousands of hours without engaging in PvP easily.
Oh my God! Now I'm outing myself as an old woman. Unpaid taxi, is that the name? That is the name. That's fantastic. Love it. Unpaid taxi asks, is the slow blade automatic?
So we have 2 main attacks for the blade, like the basic ones, if you don't have any skills or abilities associated with it. So we have the quick attack.
I did not yet see the co-interview. I saw a portion of the Shroud interview.
So you can.
So I want to check those both out as well.
Stagger enemies, so you get time to actually deliver the slow blade. Now, if you use the slow blade on an unshielded enemy, you will have a quick in, and then no, I'm going to lose the thread here. It works differently. So basically, the slow blade is automatic in the sense that it will trigger if you do a stab, so to speak. I guess
basically, it's a special. You do it as a special attack, so it's a special. Like you hold your mouse button basically longer. You just click it, so it is a special trigger, and then the animation will.
Is the hiding in the sand, is that related to the still tent? Or is that separate? I'm actually really curious about that, because I hadn't seen anything at all in the still tent except that I heard that they were going to have them in game. You're not wrong, Runa. It does feel a little bit more like a reel. I like that it's not super stiff. I like their fairly casual approach. I'll have to watch the co interview right after this. It's interesting. They're talking about the slow blade, and the way that the slow blade works in the game, for anybody that it doesn't already played it and doesn't know, is it's essentially when you do a heavy, right? You do a long hold mouse click, and if the opponent is shielded, you'll do the slow. You'll hit the shield, and then you'll do the slow, and then the chop or slice, whatever, depending on what you're doing with the blade. If they're not shielded, then you do a heavy attack and you do a thrust instead of a slash, is what he's trying to say. Because if you do the regular light attack against an opponent, it's just slash, 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 and it can stagger. And then when you do the heavy, you take advantage of them being staggered and you do a stab, and then it's kind of a slow pull if it's an unshielded opponent. And if it's a shielded opponent, then you hit the shield and then you kind of do a slash down through the shield. Yeah, I do think, and they keep talking to some of these devs, talking about how they've been around for 16 years, 25 years, 30 years. It's like, I hope that means that the company is doing something right to foster that kind of loyalty and long-term community, right? Loki is right behind me making noise. I don't know if you guys can hear him or not. He's playing with his toy. Obviously, he got wound up while he was outside with the wife.
Play itself out, but it doesn't automatically happen. You have to trigger it actively.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and what I was going to add to that is that I saw that one of the devs was talking about, and I think it was in the 4th live stream, that they've actually changed some things about shielded blade combat since the public beta, since the beta weekend. I shouldn't say public beta. And it does have something to do with the slow blade attack. It sounds like now you do the slow blade and penetrate the shield, but then you need to hit him again to do actual killing damage or something. I was a little bit confused about that. I can't wait to see how it plays out. But they also did something, because what we were getting in PvP in general was stagger locks, right? Because when you do the quick attacks on somebody in melee, it staggers them a little. And if you don't have any stamina, then you can't dodge out. And people were getting stam locked, right? It was just dodge, slash, 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 stagger, 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 stagger. And if you didn't have any stam, you couldn't do anything about it. They've changed something about it so that you can get a small amount of stamina regen while you're being staggered like that, so that once you have enough, you can actually dodge out and try and back off and recover. Because, stun lock games are not fun. It's just not. It's fun while you're stun locking somebody. Absolutely a nightmare to get stun locked. So I'm glad they've done something about that too.
Look for opportunity, right? And there, I can get the timing in right. Okay, now I hold and now I get the slow blade.
Yeah, and also it takes quite a long time to actually execute a slow blade because it's called slow blade. So you have to make sure your enemy is either staggered or they do something that they don't immediately can retaliate, right? So
sounds cool, super. I'll definitely watch that video.
I tried to say earlier.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you go against an unshielded enemy,
I can't wait to play
for a bit, so it will be akin to a heavy attack, and then you'll do it fast. Whereas with the slow blade, you go fast in, and then the slow is on when you actually connect through the shield.
So yes, actually that's correct, because you have the heavy attack plus the slow blade, and those happen differently, like if you're up against a shield enemy or not a shield.
Yeah, stun lock. Only good if there's a way to break it.
Contextual whether someone has a shield or not.
Even if you have to conserve a resource or recover a resource. Yeah, stun lock is so arg.
I really need glasses, I think, or better. Sorvina Savage, I think?
Yeah, that's right.
Sorvina Savage. I also, to my defense, I'm actually also sitting further away than Leo, for example, has like a really nice angle to.
It's the hardware. We're back to it's the hardware. It's not me.
Durability on melee weapons. Do you lose more durability on melee weapons than range to offset ammunition use of ranged weapons? That's a good question.
That's extremely detailed. I don't have the answer for that. And as we balance things, that might go up and down. I don't have the exact numbers.
The numbers.
I don't think it's a major concern, at least the difference, right?
No. I'm always fairly cheap, so you will loot some of it, and the rest you will just pull out your cut array, harvest a couple of scrap metal piles, and then you have plenty so that you can quickly craft them on your person. So it's pretty trivial. It's
not actually a resource that's very important compared to like stamina, ability cooldowns, and other things, right?
Yeah.
In the context of things. Black Lion Apps is awesome. Can I swap active skills during combat?
So you can swap your skills. However, if they're on a cooldown, you'll not be allowed to swap them.
Okay.
That's good. That's kind of like New World, except New World, once you're in combat, you can't swap anything.
So on.
You cannot actually. You can go pretty far down in several of them, or you can go to the end of a few of them, but you won't be able to get all the skills from all the trees.
Yeah, we actually had that at one point, that we were able to get everything, but then we made it much more interesting also with the I call them cornerstones, but the capstone skills, yeah. So you actually will have to make decisions in terms of where do you spend your points. I personally really like that. I think
strictly speaking, the question that was asked, the answer is yes. You can learn all 5 schools. You just can't learn everything from all 5 schools.
Will NPCs pick targets based on threats, closest player, or use tactics?
Again, that's also quite specific. I wish Alex was here. So they're like, with these things, there's always a combination, and you weight things. So it's like, well, someone might have a higher threat at a longer distance. Who do you deal with? So we have weighted this, so it's like it should feel natural, the way that it works. But again, I don't have the exact numbers for how that's balanced.
The thing is, I actually asked Alex that question, I think yesterday during one of our chats as well, and he said what you just said too, though. Like, the NPCs are actually taking several aspects into consideration. How far is that player away? How much damage? How big of a threat is that character? Like, what kind of abilities did they use previously and all that? So there's quite of a complex mechanic behind how NPCs will react to you.
They do have tactics, so they change how they play depending on if there's one of them, obviously, and if there's more of them, and depending on difficulty, we'll scale it so that the second NPC might not be as aggressive in the early game as they would be in the late.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, when it's in active development, particularly right at the end as they're polishing stuff does change.
Will Sardaukars be killable, or are they meant to be the ultimate enemy?
So we have the Sardaukar dropships, but Chom mercenaries drop from them. So you will kill them, but they are not proper Sardaukar.
You're just not important enough early on, specifically, that they would deal with you.
Yeah.
They just sent there.
If you kill Sardaukar, that would be part of. It's not the normal approach.
Don't spoil anything.
Yeah, exactly. You won't.
Maybe you'll.
It's like in the main story quest line, there might be Sardaukar to deal with, but normally they're not just going to be fodder. I think that's the answer implied.
Are there any hunter seekers in the game to use?
Indeed.
Yes.
They are the last ability in one of the trees.
Yes,
I could tell you which tree, but I'm not going to.
It's the Mentat. You know it's the Mentat.
But we've actually shown the Hunter Seeker in a few gameplay or in like early videos.
Yeah.
We haven't shown the Hunter Seeker today in the combat sections. Actually, we used other abilities.
Oh, there's the little dog. She's upset.
Its sibling, the Assault Seeker.
Yes, exactly. The one you saw, the ability that Alex in his solo gameplay was like throwing.
But yes, we do have the Hunter Seeker.
Wonder Drakias is asking, can you extract blood from enemies like they do in the movies?
Yes, you can indeed. It's you will be doing that a lot as you build your base, and you refine blood to actually use as water for things that you craft and also for hydration.
Dune vampires
you kind of start with a rusty needle and the bag at the beginning, and then you kind of.
Yeah, all the way.
As you learn
rusty
more,
needle
secrets to the desert, you might also learn a few more.
Yeah, you can even drink blood.
Yes.
It will hydrate you, but there are some side effects.
Yeah, it's not
there's a debuff.
Nice, but you can go on. You can also, what I personally hate, you can also use Muad'Dips and drink a little bit.
This is true. You can harvest the Muad'Dips as well.
You do what not
you
okay.
Have to do.
Not
the
okay with
mice.
that. I'm not okay with that. Just putting it out there right now. Slucker, can you attack players of your same faction?
Yes, you can. So what I think I mentioned earlier is that in a group, you won't do damage much to your friends in your group, but the people in your guild who may be attached to a faction, you can damage them when you're in the PvP area.
All right, that was it for today. Viljar, Leo, again, thank you so much for your time and for sitting down with us to chat about Dune
They've made
Awakening.
some interesting choice with the friendly fire. I kind of think that over time they're going to decide to give some kind of identifier for at least guild members.
Thank you for putting up with our little hiccups here and there.
That will assist with avoiding friendly fire, even if it doesn't prevent it.
Also, of course, more opportunities for you to ask
But we'll see how it goes.
You can still pre-order the game. You can wishlist the game on Steam.
I guess that's me coming from more of a regular traditional MMO viewpoint. It would be one thing if your whole guild of 32 people went out, right? And each of them are going to be in 4-man squads, because that's the most you can group is with 4. Right? Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Joel does seem to be very, nah, it's your risk, manage it, right? So maybe I'm totally off base. Maybe they won't change it. I do think that it's going to be really important to be able to identify your actual friends, whether that's just people that you might have that are working together in 2 groups or having a whole guild full of 8 groups of 4, right? One tough guy to, yes, yeah, he does seem to be, and that's great. I'm glad that somebody like that is driving the train, right? Because that's important. You have to pick a path and stick to it until somebody can give you a reason to change your mind, right? So if it plays well, I hope it stays the way it is. It's just that, I mean, like I said, if you've got a full guild of 32 people, 8 groups of 4, you're going to need some way to identify it. That's the 7 there. Let's make sure we don't accidentally fire on them. And I'm guessing that's going to turn into making sure that people have uniforms or something that are identifiable to share. I think about orgs like in Star Citizen, where like the IMI, the Mobiles Detoxes Guild, they've got the Sienna shoulders and helmets, and then the Morozov armor. It's pretty identifiable when there's a whole group of them there together. So hopefully that kind of intelligence can come into play where people can have visual cues. And then, of course, you're going to want voice comms to stay on point, too. Your party you can tell apart, but you'll not, and that's how it's going to stay as long as he's in charge. Okay, well, all right. He obviously feels pretty firmly about it. I do think that friendly fire is a super important consideration for balancing gameplay, and when you can only get any friendly fire protection at all from a group of 4 people, that does actually help smaller guilds more than it helps bigger guilds, right? Because the more people you bring into the fray now, the more likely there is to be friendly fire. Whereas if like you've got 2 groups of 4 versus 4 groups of 4, your 2 groups are probably going to be able to be more tightly connected intelligence-wise than the 4. And if you've only got 1 group, then clearly you can see all of your your group mates all at once. So I don't know. I mean, I have a little bit of a mixed opinion on that, but I have not played nearly as much as clearly as the people that have been in the closed beta, or certainly not as much as Joel. So I'm interested to see how it works out. Because man, can you just imagine, 2 groups, 2 full guilds interacting in the deep desert, and you got 8 groups versus 8 groups, and then you get into the melee of trying to kill each other. Some of those people will be in vehicles, of course, and that'll be different. I'm very interested to see some big battles. I really am, because I think it's going to be pretty darn cool. Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Gear up in specific ways as a guild to help identify who's who. The rest is kind of rules of engagement, IRL. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. And the fact, because I know Joel did make that comment about, if you're if somebody wanders into the base and they're wearing the same gear as your friends, you might just assume that they're one of your guildmates. And he was definitely on the side of that's definitely gameplay that should happen. And I kind of like it. He's like, that's very Dune, right? It is, and it really is. It's kind of that kind of Game of Thrones game of, there's a novel series that I keep trying to think of what they call it, but the intrigue and the spying and the sneaking in, you know, the infiltration is the word that I'm looking for. I think it'll be interesting. It will be interesting, especially when you're talking about the deep desert stuff where, you know, a guild will roll in and they will build their deep desert base to serve as their stronghold for doing stuff in the deep desert. And they've only got a week to do stuff in that base before the Coriolis storm rolls in and annihilates the whole desert anyway. It may feel a little rushed at times, and the whole infiltration thing may really be a real possibility, particularly if you can stay undetected and get a look at the group that is controlling a given location. You may not be able to walk right into their base because of the permission system, but you could certainly look and see what kind of gear that they wear and customize your own variants, right? So that you look like the same group. Why is Walmart calling me? Okay, hold on just a minute, y'all. Trying to deal with a Walmart customer service call. They delivered to the wrong address yesterday. And I'm talking to this lady telling her that we didn't have to do a refund this time because, and she hung up on me. Hello? Holy crap, man. I don't know where that lady was working, but it was loud as hell. Just make sure that this wife knows that we took care of it.